Our guest is Ward 6 Councilor Robert Waddick. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you for having me, Joan.
Would you please briefly locate your ward for our viewers?
Sure. Ward 6 is really, it's really the center of the city. It runs approximately from the Waltham Highlands along the north side of Main Street all the way to Linden Street and Waverly Oaks Road. And the neighborhoods behind that, it's bordered in large part by Beaver Street and Lexington Street. So it's the center, it's the geographic center of Waltham, and it's also the operations center of Waltham in a sense, because in Ward 6, we have the Waltham Public Library right here. We have the Waltham District Court, the Municipal Center, the Clark Municipal Center, where several municipal city departments are located. The Fire Department headquarters, the Police Department headquarters, the Waltham Housing Authority. So there's a lot going on in terms of things that impact people's daily lives in Ward 6.
And it's a long ward.
It is a long ward.
And a long walk if you decide to. What do you think prepared you to run for ward councilor?
Well, I've always been interested in public service. I served for 6 years on the school committee prior to running for the city council. I'm a lifelong resident of the city. My family's always been involved in local affairs, so it was just a natural for me. It was a way of getting involved and giving back. I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to have had part of a good family. I've been blessed with a good education, and I think I have something to offer. And I think everybody should chip in and do things for the community. And we have a lot of folks who do things other than political service or government service, coaching baseball teams, coaching soccer teams, being involved with Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts. So folks contribute in different ways. I've always been interested in government and public service, so this is my way of giving back to the community.
You've represented Ward 6 for how many years now?
I've done 2 stints. I represented Ward 6 from 1992 to 2000. Then I went to work in the Gately administration as deputy mayor. Subsequently, I worked in various positions in the city of Waltham, primarily legal positions. I was an assistant city solicitor. I went to work for the city of Newton back in 2007 as an assistant city solicitor and decided to take a shot at rejoining the city council, and I've been back ever since.
What do you find are the primary concerns of the residents in your ward? And because of the makeup of your ward, I'm sure they're varied.
They are, but I think the concerns of my constituents are not that much different from the concerns of people throughout the city. Traffic and congestion is a big concern, and we live, particularly Ward 6, we live in an area that a lot of the residential areas rub the business zones. So my folks, can be more sensitive to the traffic, the early morning deliveries at the establishments along Main Street. I get those calls from time to time with folks being awakened at early hours of the morning, and get the police involved and try to address those situations. So noise is a big issue, traffic is a big issue, infrastructure. We have some flooding issues. We have on Linden Street. It's chronic. It's been going on for a long time. Hopefully we can find a solution to it. The folks in the Valley View Road and Oakley Lane area are having issues with sewer backups because of the failing sewer infrastructure in the area. And I'm working with the engineering department and the mayor to try to address that. That's a big concern to the folks in that area, and it disrupts their daily lives. Until you actually experience that, I think it's hard to understand how disruptive that can be to have your basement constantly flooded when we receive heavy rains. So It's a very important issue to those folks, and I'm working to try to address that. But, you know, the issues in Ward 6, I think are, you know, are shared with the people citywide. People, you know, concerned about the schools. My constituents with school-age children. We have overcrowded schools right now, and the school committee and the administration is looking for a solution to try to relieve that. There were some proposals put forward last year, which frankly would have impacted some neighborhoods in Ward 6 disproportionately to other neighborhoods in the city, and I spoke out on that. And I just hope that, you know, the solution, when a solution is arrived at, it's one that is fair to all of the people in the city and doesn't burden disproportionately, you know, a few neighborhoods or a few areas of the city. So those are, you know, those are some of the concerns that I think the people of Ward 6 share with people citywide.
Well, traffic seems to come up everywhere, doesn't it? What are your goals for the city for the next 2 years? And how would you fund them?
Well, my primary goal, you know, is to continue to stay engaged with my constituents, to listen to their needs and to respond. I think that's the most important function of a ward councilor, is to be accessible and to be responsive. You know, we have 6 at-large councilors who have the freedom to sort of look at the big picture. We all do, but ward councilors in particular have to be a bit parochial and have to address the day-to-day needs of their constituents. It's sort of almost an ombudsman role. You know, you help bring government closer to people. When they just don't know where to go, and you know, frequently they don't. They call a ward councilor, and we try to help, and that's a very big part of the job. I enjoy that part of the job. With respect to the city, we have a lot of challenges before us, and you know, as I said, I mean, the schools are a big challenge right now. We have a high school that I still think of as the new high school. And when I visit it, it's amazing to me that the furniture that we used in the classrooms back in the early 70s when I was attending Waltham High School is still in use. But the experts are telling us that the high school is obsolete and it either needs to be renovated or replaced. That's a big endeavor for the community, and I think that's right up there in terms of the issues that we have to confront over the next few years. Infrastructure in the city is a huge issue. We have aging water and sewer infrastructure. It's not particularly flashy or glitzy stuff, talking about water and sewer infrastructure, but it's very important to the day-to-day lives of people. And when it breaks and when it doesn't work properly, it's a problem of the first magnitude. So we need to address those issues. I think we've made a lot of progress with respect to our roads and our sidewalks. For many years we just paved roads and we didn't concentrate on sidewalks, we didn't concentrate on improvements. I think we're doing a better job of that now. There's still room for improvement. Not everybody in the city drives, so I think we need to encourage, we need to acknowledge that a lot of people walk and a lot of people bicycle, and we need to be sensitive to those needs, and we need to improve our sidewalks, and we need to make our roads safer for people who want to use bicycles and alternative types of transportation. So we have a lot of challenges ahead of us as a community. Waltham is a good city, but we should always be looking to do things in a better way.
Now, all those, definitely, no one would argue with you about the issues. I didn't hear any reference to how the improvements might be funded.
Well,
and that's a tough one.
it is a tough one, but we are blessed in this city in terms of our commercial tax base. With people, some people understand this, but the commercial taxpayers in this city shoulder 60% of the financial burden, and the residents shoulder 40%. We have a tremendous commercial tax base. It's the envy of a lot of the communities around us. When I was president of the city council, we initiated a comprehensive study of our zoning ordinance, and one of the objectives of that is to make sure that we don't lose our competitive edge along 128, because the communities to the north and the south of us are trying to get a piece of that. We've been very fortunate over the years that people have just come here for that kind of development out along the highway, which, by the way, you know, it is wonderful development because it doesn't really impact people where they live. It doesn't rub up against neighborhoods. They don't draw tremendously upon city services. It tends to be, high-end office space, and the taxes that they pay, help fund a lot of things in the city, help fund our city, and help keep our residents, help keep our residential taxes relatively low. I mean, nobody wants to pay real estate taxes, but when you look at Waltham in terms of other communities and the services that people receive in the city of Waltham, it's a relative bargain. How are we going to fund things? It's a combination of using existing revenue and bonding when we need to. We have a AA+ bond rating. That means that we're in a good position to borrow money. And we have an historically low debt rate. So the city is in a good position. The city has leverage through its taxes and through its ability to borrow to address the things we need to address. Hopefully, with respect to the high school, if we do endeavor to build a new high school or make significant renovations to the existing high school within the next few years, we will be able to obtain state financing as we did when we did the school project in the previous decade, where we rebuilt our elementary schools and our 2 middle schools. So hopefully there'll be state funding available for that project as well. But I'm not worried about Waltham's financial future. I think we've been a solid community, in terms of our fiscal management, and I expect that will be the case in the future, and we'll have the funds to do the things we need to do.
That's very encouraging. One of the most important issues throughout the city, you knew this was coming, is what to do with the Fernald School. Do you have any ideas about that and how they might be funded? Always comes back to money.
It always comes back to money. The thing about the Fernald School, I think that, is of some comfort. All of a sudden we have this enormous piece of land that we didn't have, and people have all kinds of ideas, which is good. I mean, we have to go through a process to vet it, listen to people's ideas, and engage the community. But we have time. We don't have to develop the Fernald School tomorrow. We have time to think this through and do it right and do it in phases. We don't have to develop the whole property, at once. So, I think we have to let the process unfold. We have to listen to people. We have to share ideas. I think some of the ideas that have been put forward are, worth considering. The ones that I've heard, it may very well be, a good site for the new high school. That has to be looked at. Certainly there's plenty of space up there for additional recreational facilities. The idea of providing housing for our veterans was put forward, and I think that's an excellent idea. To the extent that we can provide housing, for the people who have served this country and who are in need of some help, we now have the land to do that. So the idea of additional cemetery space was put forward, and we are running out of space at Mount Phoenix. So these are all good ideas, and I know that there are many more, and the Fernald is not in Ward 6, but it is obviously important to all of the people in the city. It's a huge undertaking, and I think we just need to take our time and go through a process. There's no rush. Let's take our time and do it right and develop, we have the property to meet the needs of the community, and that's the important thing. We have a lot of acreage that, 2 years ago we didn't have. So it's a big plus.
We are out of time, Bob, and thank you for coming. It was
Thank you.
very informative.
Thank you, Joan, and thanks to the League of Women Voters.